Hello everyone and welcome to the MBH Corp's channel. I am your host Lisa Maynard-Atem and I am delighted to be joined today by the newest member of the MBH family, Margaret Manning, OBE. Hi Margaret, how are you?
Hello Lisa, I'm absolutely fine. I do have a touch of hay fever. I'm currently in Barbados, and I have just been told that it's hotter in Manchester at the moment than it is in Barbados. So fantastic.
Yeah, I can't believe that myself. I actually can't believe that. I was saying to my mum, because my mum's from Barbados and we were just in shock. But yeah, it's sweltering here at the moment. But I would still rather be, as much as I love Manchester, I would still rather be in Barbados, I think, over Manchester. So I think it's still got the edge on us. But yeah, how are things over there?
Well, I came to Barbados actually because they have a digital nomad visa, and you can actually work remotely from Barbados on a 12-month visa, which is phenomenal. And it's been absolutely great. But since we've been here, we've had the first volcano in this part of the Caribbean since I think it was 1967. We've also had the first hurricane on Barbados since 1958. So we're expecting now either Godzilla to arrive or the alien invasion.
I'm not sure which one I would prefer. Possibly Godzilla. I don't know about alien invasion. That would worry me a little bit.
Anyway, Barbados is absolutely incredible, and the nomad visa has created this kind of amazing amount of really interesting, exciting entrepreneurs all on the island at the same time, all looking for investments, all looking to learn, and it's an incredible environment to be in.
Oh, you're making me feel really jealous. I really want to be there now. But anyway, welcome to MBH. You guys said, you are the newest family member. You are the newest board member. So it'd be great to kick things off by finding out a little bit about your background, stuff like that. So yes.
Over to me. I suppose that the best place to start is right at the heart of it. I am a geek. I am an unashamed geek. It's taken me a long while to actually, it's obviously taken me a little while longer than you, Lisa, to be able to admit it. Because usually if you admit to being a geek, actually, especially if you're a woman, people kind of back away from you very slowly and look at you like you're slightly strange. But all the way through my career, I think this being interested in how things work, it just has followed me all the way through. So I started actually as an accountant with Price Waterhouse. And while I'm actually a recovering accountant, what accountancy has left me with is a love of data. Not a love of accountancy, but a love of data, which is very, very different. And that went on to a love of technology. So I was a programmer. I programmed artificial intelligence way back when, and I'm not going to tell you way back when enough, because otherwise you're definitely going to age me quickly. But this geekism and it being interested in how things work has actually given me another interest. And that interest is being able to pick apart how things work and maybe have a little look at how they could work in different ways. There is a movement at the moment. I'm not sure I agree with it totally, but it's very interesting. And it's called Unlearning, which means you take what you've learned and you see if that learning is actually relevant to you today. It enables you to think through things, to how things work, rather than just accept things as you are told that they should be. I don't like the phrase unlearning, because it isn't about unlearning. It's actually about building on the learning that you have. But this kind of being able to look at things differently is one of the reasons that I was attracted to MBH and the agglomeration model. Yeah, So it's the geekism, the ability to take things apart and see how they're actually structured, enables you to actually look at things, I think, in a much more analytical sort of way. And if you're looking at things analytically, you can actually, if you have the background knowledge, see where they could be done differently.
Yeah. I know what you mean about the whole unlearning thing. I don't particularly like the word myself, but I think I'm on a bit of a journey of unlearning at the moment, because I've worked in a lot of corporate organizations with very strict ways of doing things. And what I'm learning now, especially in my current role, is that those ways of doing things were maybe right then, but they're not right now. So for the situation that I'm in now and for the things I'm doing now, so I'm very similar to you in the sense that I'm always trying to look at things and think, right, okay, how could that be improved? How could I do it differently? How could I do it better?
Yes.
I'm very curious. It's like, how can okay, this is the way you've always done it. Is there a different way? Is there a better way? Is there an alternative? So I think that's always a very interesting conversation.
It's also a conversation that actually can bring up a lot of fear in people. So let's take just one that is very clear to me. Accountancy and how we run finance for business is all sorts of incorrect at the moment, because it's effectively based on how you make factories, how you make products in factories. It doesn't actually work. The way that we actually do finance quite often doesn't work for the new world. So, for example, there's another movement called Beyond Budgeting, right, which says that you don't actually in a business need to have a budget, or the budget needs to be done in a very different way to your finance team, to the way that the finance team do the budget currently. And a lot of organizations, including the Institute of Chartered Accountants and the ACCA as well, are looking at how the rules that were actually created, I think, in the 16th century by a monk, could potentially be disrupted so many hundreds of years later. And I'm very, very interested in how we look at business, how business could be both undertaken in a different way. But in order to undertake the business in a different way, we have to have different ways to measure this new style of undertaking business. So it's a very anarchic position. But being a chartered accountant, I've been able to hold this anarchic position with many, many investment houses over the years.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So you've touched on it a few minutes ago, but I'd really love to know, like, why you joined the board, and then based on your experiences and your background, you know, what is it that appeals to you about the MBH model?
So the MBH model is what seems to me to be a model for the future. We are looking at the future of everything now, and probably the only bright spot in the things that the pandemic has brought us is that it's made everybody very, very aware that things are changing, and things are changing extremely rapidly. And we are looking at the future of work, the future of business. We are looking at sustainability. We're looking at the future of our planet. And what we need to be able to do is to put all those things together in a business environment. And the MBH type of model, which doesn't take a small business, a family business, and try and tell that family business how to do its business, but instead take a family business and add value by giving it access to capital in the MBH model, gives a completely different view of what business life should be about. So let me put that in another way. I've started a lot of meetings where you have very, very ambitious people wanting to do their angel investment, their round A, their round B, and their round C. And it does seem a little bit like how big is my sports car type of environment, where in actual fact getting the investment is much more important than what you're going to do with it. So it's a model that doesn't seem to me to be sustainable. It has a degree of unreality about it. Yes, it is very sexy. I'm not saying it isn't, But the reality is that 90% of the world is run by small businesses. Yet 90% of the publicity is given to this very small minority of highly geared businesses. So the MBH model, which actually champions the smaller businesses, that gives them access to capital, but very, very importantly, does not try to impose its will on a business that has been very successfully run, but instead gives it access to things that it didn't have before, and allow it, that business and those people that are running the business, the partners within the business, to be able to use that new access to the best of their business advantage.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic model. I think it's really exciting. I think what's exciting for me about it is the collaborative aspect of it. I think that's so interesting. I've obviously sat in on some of the meetings with some of the principals, and just to hear them exchanging ideas and talking about things, I just think, and they're from different disciplines as well, I find that incredibly interesting. So no, I agree with you. It's a fantastic model, I think. On the future, a few minutes ago. So where do you see the future of MBH?
That's a very interesting question, as I have just arrived in the first week. I think you've absolutely touched on it. The future of MBH lies in the strength of its principles, in the strength of the leaders and the senior management, and in actual fact all the people that are working within the MBH businesses. And I think that's actually, for me, extremely important. It's not just the leaders of the organizations. I think it is very important that everybody within the MBH businesses has a say, is involved, and feels a part of this family. So where do I see it going? Well, obviously, what I'm hoping is that we can spread the word about how the MBH model will take a business, will make sure that that business isn't destroyed, or at least damaged or changed by an acquisition. But instead, its values, its brand, its ways of working is championed by the acquisition. Very, very, very different. Having been involved both with Pricewaterhouse, helping acquisitions happen. I was also with 3i, the venture capitalists, helping acquisitions happen. And then most recently, I've been involved in selling to businesses. So I have seen throughout all of those things the ups and downs of acquisition, which is another very, very key reason why I absolutely love the MBH model, because it does things completely differently.
Yeah, it really does. Like I say, it's really exciting. And this question for as much, probably a bit more for myself, but what are your first impressions of MBH? And the reason I ask is because I was the newbie before you joined us, and I've just found it, from the outset, I found MBH to be really inclusive. I've met all the board members, the principals, everybody's been absolutely amazing. And it's just been a really really easy and really fantastic introduction to the organization for me personally. It's been nothing but positive. So I'd love to hear what your first impressions are.
I would absolutely mirror virtually everything you've said, and I'll add two things or two words that really stand out. One is inclusive. I'm very, very strongly of the belief, and I can't understand why people would not be, that a diverse organisation is much stronger than a very niche organisation in terms of everything to do with diversity, whether it's diversity of gender, diversity of race, diversity of whatever it is. Height, I'm 5 foot tall. Diversity of age, I'm also getting on the wrong side of that as well. But diversity in all its forms makes a business stronger. And a lot of organizations have a thing at the top of their brand saying, we believe in diversity. You dig just a tiny little bit deeper than that headline sentence, and you find, in actual fact, while they might wish to believe in diversity, and maybe they kind of do believe in diversity, while they might talk the talk, they certainly do not walk the walk. And that's, I feel extremely passionately and very, very strongly that MBH does actually walk the walk. And I've seen that, I've felt it, and it's extremely powerful. So that's one of the very key points for me, and another reason why I very much wanted to join MBH, because there are very few organisations that do really walk the walk. So good on MBH. I'm hoping to be able to champion that while I'm with MBH. The other thing that has struck me so much is not just the collaborative nature of how people work. It's also how it's not a command and control structure. That there is not top-down control, which is very much this concept of the future of work. It shouldn't be top-down control. If you're buying an organization, you would really rather hope that they knew how to do things. And you would really think, wouldn't you, that if you were doing an acquisition and you were buying an organization, that you'd want them to continue to do things and be successful. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Within MBH, there is that very clear delineation between group, which is an enabler, not a command system, and the principals, who are actually doing the running of the business, who are effectively their shareholders. They effectively own the business. So it's a tremendously interesting organization from that perspective. And another thing that I've really come head to head, that's really forced itself on me in this first few weeks, is how fiercely that is protected. And rightly so, because it is a model that is different from some other models. And your initial reaction is, okay, how do we get in and just start to do things with these family-owned and very, very independent businesses? And that, of course, is not how it's done. It's allowing those businesses to flourish. It's giving them the environment into which they can flourish, rather than forcing their roots down into a different path.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really stands out for me, which is not something that I've experienced, I've worked for many organizations over the years, and it's probably one of the rare times when I've actually felt an organization, they're very much like a family. Like when I attend, very much it's like them against the entire world, and it's not something that I've really encountered that much before, if at all. I think that's the thing that really, really stands out for me, is that they are the essence and the personification of a team, even though they're from different businesses. And I really like that. I think that's a really good way to do business in the world, especially when you consider how the world is right now at this moment. I think having that sense of like camaraderie and real team spirit, and really kind of, like I say, us against the world, I think that's a really fantastic way to do business.
I think that's absolutely a great way of putting it. I said I built a business in the UK, Australia, Singapore, Thailand, and what I absolutely loved about that business, and what has come back over and over again over the years, is our brand was Loyal Family. And it was an incredibly diverse, very strongly loyal family. And since we've sold the business, since I've moved away, I miss that terribly. So I think that is something that I'm feeling very much already from MBH, is that kind of concept of us against the world. I said earlier that I was a geek, so I'm just going to drop something else into the conversation so that you do get to know me a little bit more. I also play a lot of online games.
Okay.
And gamification is actually fascinating. So it's a fascinating concept how the online game industry has enabled, I think, something that business needs to take notice of. So in actual fact, I'm only playing games in order to learn about business. Do I get away with that one?
That sounds really. I've never thought about it. I'm not a gamer myself. When you term it like that, actually, that makes it a much more interesting prospect. Like, because I say I'm not a games person. I'm definitely like you. I'm a massive geek. I love to, like, my thing is social media, so I love to read up on what the latest trends are. You know, what are the latest things on TikTok. So I love all of that. But I've never been into gaming. But now you've kind of put it like that. That's kind of piqued my interest. So
It's fascinatingly, it really is fascinating. And I do think there is a lot that online gaming can actually teach the business community. At the moment, I'm playing a game. It doesn't really matter what it is, but needless to say, I've got a very pretty gold spaceship. But what I do have is I have comrades from all over the world, from Russia, from the Philippines, from Indonesia, from Australia, from South America. And I have, at the moment, 60 people that are playing with me. And the amount of that kind of concept of loyal family and the amount of effort that people put in because they all feel part of the team is something I think that business could learn from.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of something what that MBH does already. So I think
Yes.
else can kind of really learn from that. But I know what you're saying. As much as I'm not a gamer myself, I've got friends who are really heavily into gaming, and I always get that sense of a community, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And it's one of the reasons that I really got into social media, because you know fast forward 10, 12 years now, I've made friends all over the world, people that I probably would not have met were it not for the Twitters and the Facebooks and Instagram. So for me, kind of, that's one of the reasons I really like social media. I was like, in those early days, I was really connecting with people and making friends. And even now, I'm still connecting with people all of the time. And I really love that sense of community.
Yes, well, I think that this is what is actually flowing through the whole of our conversation, isn't it? It's that concept of community and how community can help everybody within that community grow, as long as you are giving people responsibility and allowing them to be able to grow in their own direction. So games do that. They've learned how to use that technique, and it's a very, as I say, it's a very powerful technique. And more organisations should, I think, be looking at that in the concept of the future of how we work, in the concept of how the future of how we communicate. You mentioned social media, and social media is obviously changing things, and we think that social media has changed things. Having been part of the internet community since 1994, which is virtually when www started, social media is still going to morph and change. But what it is going to do is allow community to happen in ways that community was never able to happen before. What we just hope that it goes the positive ways and loses some of the negative ways.
Yeah, it's definitely a very reactive beast. I'm always fascinated, Margaret, by Twitter's evolution. Like, I remember when I first started using Twitter, and then especially over the last 4 years, it's become such a tool from a political point of view. I just find that absolutely fascinating, how it's kind of morphed into something else almost. And I'm very interested to see where the platforms are going to go next. But like I say, hopefully there's a bigger emphasis on the positive rather than the negative.
I remember listening to Jack in Cannes when Twitter was less than a year old. It was just a few months old, listening to him talking about Twitter. So I've got at, or at least I did have at Margaret. But to see it move from there to where it is, but you can almost predict the future in where it's going to go if you think about the fact that this is the communications revolution. The communications revolution is about disintermediation, and that kind of environment of disintermediation actually pushes further that concept of not the command and control system, which equally shows that it's the MBHs of this world that don't have that command and control system that allow organizations to grow, it should be a much, a very, very strong part of the future of how we do business.
Yeah, I think it's suffice to say, I think we both think that, the MBH model is definitely the future in terms of business. I think that they're definitely onto something. So yeah, let's I think it's going to be very exciting to see how things evolve. Anyway, I could literally just stay and talk to you all day, but I know I can't do that. But I'm really happy that you've joined MBH. I love the fact that you're like me, you're a geek and you're very proud of that. I've always been proud of that, but not always been confident enough to voice it. So it's nice to have
Me too.
But yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, Margaret. And like I say, welcome to the MBH family. I'm really looking forward to kind of working with you and just kind of geeking out together on stuff. I really can't wait.
Thank you, Lisa. And I can't wait for the journey.
Yeah, me too. Okay, all that remains for me to say to everyone is thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our channel, and we shall see you again very soon. Take care, everyone.